Hello, in today's video we are talking about how to multiply large numbers. So we are talking about numbers with zeros in them. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start off with a pretty simple multiplication problem like 3 times 4. So if we know 3 times 4 is 12, you can write that here. Now let's expand that a little bit more. What if we wanted to multiply 30 times 4? What would that equal? So I want you to still pay attention to these numbers, not the 0. We're just going to pay attention to 3 times 4. So 3 times 4 is still 12. However, we have this 0 here. So we're going to add on a 0 here onto our answer. So our answer is actually 120. When I do this skill with my students, I always call it popping on an extra 0 on the end because we're not taking it away from the 30, but we are replicating it. We're duplicating it. So let's talk about some more with 3 and 4. What if I wanted to multiply 300 times 4? Well, again, we're going to look at those main numbers, 3 and 4. So 3 times 4 equals 12. And how many zeros do I have? I have 1, 2. So I'm going to add on 1, 2. So my answer is actually 1,200. Now let's extend that even more. Let's go back to 30. But then this time we're going to put 40. We're going to multiply times 40. So let's use that same theory. We're going to look at the 3, we're going to look at the 4, we're going to multiply those two, still 12. How many zeros do I have in the problem? I have 1 0 from the 30, I have 1 0 from the 40, so that's 2 total. So our answer is going to have 2 zeros in it. So we still, again, get 1,200. So notice that these two are the same answer. 300 times 4 is the same as or equals 30 times 4. Now we could do this with as many zeros as we want. Let's say we're multiplying 300 times 40,000. So we're getting into really big numbers here. The method is still the same. We're going to look at that 3, we're going to look at that 4, and we're going to go ahead and multiply those two. What's 3 times 4? Well, it's still 12, but now how many zeros are we going to add on to the end of this 12? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 zeros. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When I'm working on students with this skill, sometimes students get hung up a little bit on where the comma goes. We know that a comma needs to be there in between the periods, in between those 3 digits, right? So I always tell them, just start with that first number, add on your zeros, and then put in the commas. You can always put commas in between the numbers. Don't worry about that part until you get to the very end. It makes this process a lot easier. Okay, let's try one more, and then I'm going to have some for you to practice. So we're going to stick with the 3 and 4. We're going to multiply 3,000 times 400. We're going to keep it simple with this one. So see if you can think about what you think this answer might be. We're going to focus on the 3, focus on the 4. 3 times 4 is 12. And then we're going to count the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice I didn't worry about putting commas until now. Now I have all of my numbers where they need to be. So now I can start to put in my commas. Let's take a look at some other problems. What I would like you to do is pause this video and actually see if you can figure out what the answers to all of these problems are. And then you can resume the video once you've thought about that for a minute and you can see if you were correct. Okay, so hopefully you have paused the video and tried to figure out the answers to these problems. I wanted to start with the basic problem at the top of each of these sections. So let's start with 7 times 5. 7 times 5 is 35. So then let's look at 70 times 5. So we've got the 7 times 5 right here. So that's 35 again. And then how many zeros do we have in our problem, in our factors? We have 1 0 here, so that means we need 1 0 at the end of our answer there, 350. Let's go on to the next one. We've got 700 times 50. Again, we're just focusing on that 7 and 5 first, which we already know is 35. And then how many zeros do we have? We have 3 zeros. Again, I'm not worrying about commas until we get to the end here. So we wind up with 35,000. Okay, now we've got 700 times 5,000. Let's see what that is. We already know 7 times 5 is 35. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. And then we're going to put in our commas. Ooh, 3,500,000. Okay, let's go on over to the 2 times 8 problem. 2 times 8 is 16. So now we're going to focus on 2 times 8 again is 16. And then we have that 1 0 at the end. So we have 1 0 here. All right, 200 times 800. Our method is still the same. We're going to focus on that 2 and the 8 first. So 2 times 8, we already know is 16. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. And then I add in any commas needed. Now we've got 2,000 times 800. Again, we're going to focus on that 2 and that 8, which is 16. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to add in my commas. There we go. Now, if you really want a challenge, we can look at this setup where we are missing one of our factors. So we have to figure out what factor would make these equations true. So let's start here at the top. We're going to start with the basics. 4 times what equals 36? So again, pause the video. I'd like you to try these and then come back and we'll go over them together. Okay, so hopefully you thought about that for a moment on your own. So 4 times 9 equals 36. Now in this next problem, we see a similar setup. However, we have this extra 0 at the end of our product. So that means that we're going to need a 0 in one of our factors. The 4 doesn't already have a 0, it's just 4. So we already know that 4 times 9 is 36. So that extra 0 needs to come from this number here. Since it doesn't show up with the 4, it has to be with the 9. So we've got 4 times 90 equals 36. Okay, so now let's take a look at this one. Again, we have the same product. We have 36 with a 0 at the end, 360. This time we have 40 times something equals 360. So we already have that extra 0 here in this number. So that means that the rest of the problem just needs to make up the 36. Right? So we already have the 0 mirrored right here. So then 4 times what would equal the rest of this answer, which is the 36 part. So 4 times 9 would be 36. 40 times 9 would be 360. All right, in this one, we've got a lot of zeros here. So we already know that this 4 times 9 is going to give us the 36, right? 4 times 9 is 36. Maybe I'll use a different color for this next part. Now we need to figure out the zeros. Well, our answer has 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros in it. That means we need to have 4 zeros somewhere in the factors. These numbers that we're multiplying are called factors. So the 400 has 2 of those zeros, right? So this 0 can be mapped to this 0, and this 0 can be mapped to this 0. Well, what are we missing? we still need 2 more zeros in our factors, so they have to be in this number. So then this would have to be 400 times 900 equals 360,000. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. That really helps me to be able to keep creating these videos for you. I hope that this tutorial was helpful for you. Thanks so much. See you next time.